had it set up beforehand based on the fact that the post went out.
I didn't say this, saying this on the wrap up, but that post that Publius made was like almost a week before it actually happened. So it wasn't even like, oh crap, I did it. Like it's an hour before. I'm gonna post real quick. Oh yeah. I mean, like it would have had to have been at least a little bit planned out, which is interesting.
Right.
Or you made a statement and realized I got to do something.
Oh, crap.
I got to hurry up and meet the lighting designer and like persuade him, and then somehow get it done. And he did it, and I mean, drugs, blackmail, murder, whatever it was. Yeah. Well, but I will buy your theory though that it was a marketing ploy. And they thought, let's use this new weird Usenet thing and see if we can.
This new internet thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
we all know it's not going anywhere.
No.
That internet thing, it's never going to take off.
It's never. No. As previously mentioned, we're going to post some links. I'll try to post the most interesting, useful links to you. I can't make any promises. Those links, along with links to merch and also the ability to listen to and download our episodes, can be found on our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can find us, if you don't want to listen to us through our own website, you can find us on iTunes and almost all streaming sites. If your podcast provider of choice allows you to subscribe and leave a review and a rating, please do so. That's how other people are able to find us and find out more about us before listening to us. Though we hope they'll just listen to us, blindly, like sheep.
As you should. Do everything we tell you. Buy our stuff.
Do it.
Do it.
You can find us on social media. We have a Facebook group and a page, so you can like the page and join the group. We have a Twitter, which is Thinking Sideways. We also have a subreddit, which is Thinking Sideways. No trend anywhere. If you are Publius
or Uncle Custard
or Nick Mason or any other person involved with this, what?
I'm trying to give it up.
We've got dead people to
You can phone somebody else.
You can't, Arthur C. Clarke. It doesn't work.
If you are anybody who wants to contact us for any reason, maybe you just want to yell at
lemonade.
You can send us an email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And we do respond to every single email we get.
Or our interns
but
do.
It does sometimes take us a little while, so thanks for your patience in that.
Yeah.
All of that having been said, I think we're going to go ahead on out of here. That wasn't a coherent sentence, was it?
It was just like the quotes you've been reading.
Great!
Yeah. I'm nothing here. Bye.
Hey guys, do you want to see that really cool wig that I got from the Pink Floyd concert?
Yeah.
I'm going to have hair again.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by Gouda Cheese. Instead, it's supported by the generous donations of our listeners on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/thinkingsideways to learn more. And thanks.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I am Devin, joined by
Steve
and
Joe,
my co-host. This week, I guess.
For now.
For now.
We may be replaced by muffins in the future.
It's possible, always possible. Yeah. This week we're gonna talk about a mysterious disappearance, and this story was suggested by literally everyone, literally all the time.
It's been suggested a lot, yeah.
A couple times.
So I just decided that we would just do it, just rip the Band-Aid off. Just gonna do it.
No, this is not a bad little mystery, actually.
No.
No, I understand. I understand why people get so excited about this and why it catches everybody's attention.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the problems with it in a little bit.
Pull the bottom out of this one later.
Yeah, true. So if you don't read the episode titles, we're going to talk about the disappearance of Ray Gricar today. And here's a quick overview of the case before we dive in. On April 15th, 2005, Center County, Pennsylvania District Attorney Ray Griecar called his girlfriend to let her know that he was out driving or had just gone for a drive or was on his way home. The accounts vary. However,
I thought he said he was on his way to Lewisburg.
You know, like I said, I've read so many different accounts. Already we're into it. Read so many different accounts of what he said that it's hard to tell. But definitely. And then when she arrived home from work, she went to the gym, came back. He still wasn't home. It had been 12 hours. So she called and reported him missing.
11:30 that night, right?
Yeah, and he's never been found. There's a lot of business to get out of the way, so you guys just want to jump in?
Sure.
We must well.
Yeah, okay.
Who are we going to start with? Because we got a couple of players.
Yeah, so let's just start with like a basic overview of Ray's life up until this point. Ray was born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1945. In the 80s, Ray's then wife took a job teaching at Penn State, and Ray decided to be a stay-at-home dad for their young adopted daughter, whose name was Laura.
I totally understand why.
Still is Laura. She's still alive. He had been a prosecutor before they moved to Pennsylvania. He specialized mostly in rape and murder cases prior to moving to Pennsylvania. And then when the sitting Center County DA at that time, when he heard that Ray was living in the area and was unemployed, he basically recruited him to work, first just in his office and then as the assistant DA, which Ray accepted. He accepted the job. I think it was part-time at first, and even when he became DA, spoiler alert, when he was elected DA in
85.
Thank you, in 85, it was still a part-time job
Yeah.
until a few years later when Ray petitioned for it to become a full-time job. Which it sounds like it actually really was a full-time job. So
It
I don't
sounds
really
like
know what was happening before.
I think they were paying him half what they would have to pay them.
I guess
to do
that's true.
Probably 40 hours or more work
Yeah,
a week.
yeah, probably. So yeah, in 1985, that the DA that hired Ray decided not to rerun for office, so Ray ran instead and won the spot.
Because it's an elected position.
It is an elected position, and he was DA until his disappearance in 2005. And I know that I've been saying DA a lot. I'm sorry.
The district attorney.
The district attorney. I'm going to continue to call it DA. But for those of you who are not from America or maybe don't know what a district attorney is in America, basically it's what we call our public prosecutors at a very base level, obviously. In England, they're called chief crown prosecutors.
Yeah, it's the local district's
Yeah.
attorney.
Yeah,
Is
basically.
exactly
And
what it is.
They are elected officials.
Mhm.
There's a little more clout that comes along with it, but that at the basic level, that's what it is. The sense that I got from all of the reading and all of the interviews and all of that stuff that I've done, all the research around this, is that Ray was really a good person. Some people say maybe he was a bit of a ladies' man, but really in his core, he seemed to have the best for people at his
Best
heart.
of intentions.
Yeah, I mean, he would often, if cases went against his own personal moral code, he would hand them off to people that worked for him to prosecute them, to just make sure that everything was being done fairly instead
Yeah,
of...
he had a thing against the death penalty. Didn't
He did, yeah. So he often handed that off to his assistant DA. But he really wasn't scared to take on big cases. There's some talk about, Center County is where Penn State is, obviously, because that's where they moved.
Pennsylvania State
Pennsylvania State University, which had some troubles.
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll talk
It's a
about some of the
big
bigger
college.
stuff. Yeah, it's a big college. So, sometimes the athletes there get in trouble, for instance, and he prosecuted almost all those cases. He prosecuted a lot of murder, rape, mafia cases, and there was nothing. He wasn't scared to go after bad people.
Doesn't appear he backed out.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of his job, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was his job, but he also wasn't scared to really go after people. And fun fact, you guys may or may not be familiar with the murder of Beth Doe, which was a Jane Doe in Pennsylvania, Center County. It was actually a pretty horrific case, but he ended up putting the serial killer that killed Beth Doe behind bars. They still don't know who Beth Doe was, but they found who killed her, so...
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Good job.
Ray's wife, his first wife, that worked for Penn State was named Barbara Gray. She and Ray did divorce in 1991, And then in 1995, Ray's brother committed suicide. Ray remarried in 1996, but also divorced. He married a woman named Emma, but you will almost never see that anywhere, except for the fact that she is still maybe writing a book about Ray.
Yeah.
She's been working on that for an awful long time.
Very long
I think.
time, yeah. I think the reason that she feels like she can write a book about Ray and his life, this is something we're going to talk about in a minute, but she was married to Ray until 2001. So from 1996 to 2001, she was his wife. And then, you know, they divorced in 2001, and then in 2002 or maybe 2003, it's hard to tell.
I think so.
Ray moved in with his,
What's going on over there, then?
air quotes, longtime girlfriend, Patty, who also worked in the district attorney's
Why should
office.
anybody want to do that?
I keep using air quotes with the longtime girlfriend thing because
2 or 3
they were
years.
together for 3 years as actual adults over 40. Apparently 3 years is a long-term relationship. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, he was in his mid-50s
But I
at
can't
the
see
time of
anyone.
his disappearance. Is that correct?
He would have
59,
been,
right?
yeah, he would have been
Yeah, he
almost
was in his mid, yeah. It's funny though, I really found it interesting the descriptions by different people of that relationship with Patty versus his other one.
That's what damaged my
I
computer.
think it was much more of a friendship than
It was a-
passionate romance.
I would say it was a partnership.
Yeah, that's a good way to
Yeah,
put it.
but it did seem passionate. There was a lot of passion,
A lot of
which
people
means
arguing.
They fought all
which means
the
they
time.
fought a lot, but they also, I think, were
Doesn't look
passionate
like it.
in terms of
Does
the way
it?
they expressed
I
themselves
think you have
positively
just
to each
enough.
other as
Probably.
well. But it does
Well, let's
seem
put
like,
the
you know,
rest of the
everybody
stones down
says,
and
well,
see.
Patty's really just his soulmate. She describes herself as
With the two stuff
soulmate
we
and,
can.
you know, all that stuff.
Stand
But
clear.
it was only 3 years. Again, who's to say? And I don't.
Yeah, I don't wanna
from the
downplay
line.
that.
No, but you know, who's to say? It probably would have lasted forever. But you know, they always call her long-term girlfriend. So that's what that is. Ray was planning to retire that year.
yes, well.
In 2005. Sorry, the year he disappeared.
them fit. We
His
should
term
have
was up.
made
He
them
just
the other
wasn't
way
seeking re-election.
What do you mean?
And his family
Well,
does say that he
these
reported
stones are
feeling
longer
overworked
than they are
and
the other
feeling
way.
really
So
tired
if we
a
turn
lot.
around and make
Now,
them all like that,
the
they will
name
fit.
Ray Gricar might be familiar to you, even if you didn't know that he disappeared. And that's because of Jerry Sandusky. We're going to talk about some not so great
as though you're
stuff
right, Paul.
for a minute.
I believe what I referred to it earlier
At
was
least you made them
icky
cover more
things.
of the
Icky things involving kids
Yeah.
and
Pervs and stuff like that.
So-
so if that bothers you, go ahead and skip ahead about 5 minutes
More, no less.
because you may not want to hear it, but you may want to hear the rest of the story.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll have to
So let's talk about the gem that was Jerry
Jerry
Sandusky.
Sandusky still is.
I'm sure 95% of our listeners have heard of this guy.
You know,
Well-known perv.
I would guess, but I don't know.
I didn't know the details until we looked into this. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never looked into it too heavily myself.
Right, because why would you?
Yeah.
Really, you don't really want to. So Jerry Sandusky is a former assistant football coach at Penn State, which, yes, there's already a little bit of his wife, Greg Krieger's wife, worked for Penn State. Well, again, huge employer, not to say anything, but
And they have a lot of clout in that town.
yeah.
Penn State, that is.
Yeah, but
What
Jerry
I don't
Sandusky was
understand
kind of an all-around
how cows
bad
make milk.
kind of human
What they make
being.
it out of.
He founded this charity, which I recognize I'm going to follow up with something that sounds like an awesome thing, but just wait. He founded a charity called The Second Mile, which served underprivileged
They eat the
youth.
grass, and inside the cardboard
George W. had
Bush.
really high, had really high praise for the organization. He said that it was a shining example in a 1990 letter that he wrote. Words I'm sure he regretted
That's
not
very clever
too
of them.
far after that.
Suppose it is.
No, it was a little while
Never
before
thought about
the
it
whole thing came to light.
So I
Or
suppose
it hit the
more
fan.
grass they
Yeah,
eat,
it
the more milk they
fan.
make.
It's estimated
Well, then,
that organization served
silly
as many
farmer.
as 100,000 kids annually
Covered up some of the
in
grass.
nearly.
Yes,
It was
come
and it
over
existed
here.
almost 36 years.
The cows can't
That's a lot of
reach out
kids.
and eat
It's a lot of
grass,
kids.
they can't
So the
make so much
percentages
milk.
that we're about to start talking about are low, but
Extremely. But
Yeah.
like at any, even
these
like
huts don't have to
0.0%
be so close
is
together.
too many percent.
Well, anyway, that's just long story short.
Well-
Sandusky basically set this up and turned it into his
Well,
own personal
if
dating
this one was
service.
pushed
A little.
forward,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
these two were
turns
spaced
out,
a bit more,
yeah, Sandusky was
there'd be
raping
more grass
young
in
boys that
between.
he met through
More
the
grass for the
Second
cows
Mile.
to eat.
Officially, he was
Well,
charged
it
with
makes sense to
molesting
me.
9 boys, but he was also charged with 45 counts against him. He was sexually abusing his adopted son Matt for 6 or 7 years, and he met literally all his victims through the second mile.
He was vetting them.
He was vetting them.
He's looking for a very specific personality type
Yeah,
and situation.
personality type that was open to the kind of suggestion that he was open to, and all of them had no father figure.
I'm not sure yet.
So
Which
he,
is sadly very stereotypical
oh yeah, yeah,
for a predator like that.
yeah. I'm of the opinion that he likely had many, many more victims than just the 9, but that's, my own personal feeling.
That's for another history.
For a different history. Yeah. In the spring of 2008, Aaron Fisher was a high school student where Sandusky was volunteering as an assistant football coach, and Aaron told his mom that Sandusky had been touching him inappropriately.
And Aaron was a freshman,
Aaron was a freshman, yeah.
so that would make him, what, 14? 13?
13 or 14.
Okay.
14.
Yeah, depending on when his birthday was.
Right.
Sandusky's relationship, quote unquote, with Aaron had started in 2005 with the second mile. And it turns out that a graduate assistant coach in Penn State had witnessed Sandusky abusing boys in 2001 and had told Joe Paterno, who was the Penn State head coach at the time. Paterno, to his credit, it seems, did report this.
He sure took his dear sweet time about
He
it.
did. He was on vacation, so, he had to wait. He was about to go on vacation when he was told about the case, and then he was like, well, I'm going to go on vacation, then I'll come back and tell everybody that Sandusky's been touching people inappropriately.
Among other things.
Among other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but the people who were above Joe Paterno, it seems like they said, oh, I'm sure Sandusky was just horsing around. Even though, some of the descriptions are like, janitor saw him behind a boy. They were both naked. The boy was pushed up against the wall, and they were slapping him.
Oh my
And
God.
it's just like, but that didn't, nobody at Penn State seemed to really.
I think it's one of those
Yeah.
situations where the
computer's working
disturbing
perfectly at the
nature of
moment.
what was going on, in each retelling, it got sanitized more and more to the point that someone's like, oh, they were just playing around in the shower.
Yeah. So the two people that Joe Paterno did tell, it testified in court that all they heard was there was some horsing around happening in their shower. So they were totally clean, but it sounds like Joe Paterno's story is he told them and they said, it doesn't matter where you put the hearts. Either way, doesn't really matter. I'm telling this story because the earliest documentation of Sandusky's abuse was in 1995 by the aforementioned adopted son, Matt. Okay, well, Matt didn't report it, but Matt and one of his adopted sisters tried to commit suicide, which caused CPS, Child Protective Services, to raise some concerns and say they needed to investigate.
That's kind of unusual too. Kids committing suicide at the same time or attempting suicide.
Yeah, and actually the thing that was really interesting about this is I've read a lot of the stuff from Matt, and with Child Protective Services removed him from the house and took him obviously because he was in the hospital, and they said, okay, we're going to place you somewhere else. This was when he was still a foster kid, and he actually wrote a letter to Child Protective Services saying that he wanted to be placed back with Sandusky, despite the fact that he's been being molested. So I don't know what, I didn't care to go into too much detail onto the young boys, but that I think is very indicative of the kind of power he had over them.
I would agree.
In 1998, an 11-year-old boy, later known as Jason 6 in the indictment of Sandusky, came forward to testify that Sandusky had showered naked with him and another boy. Enter Ray Griecar.
Not in the shower, I hope.
No, not in the shower.
No.
No. He was the district attorney at
He
the time.
entered into the story.
I'm sorry.
You're leaving something out there. Sandusky showered with these two young boys, and he also touched them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was, trying to stand a little bit, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the victim's mom apparently wanted to talk to Sandusky, which is fair. And I guess I've heard it both ways. Either Sandusky said, hey, I want to talk to you about this, or she said, we need to talk about this. But either way, they arranged to talk about the situation.
And she had reported the situation to
She had
Ray
reported
Griecar.
she'd reported to the police, who reported it to Griecar.
And I understood that her confronting Sandusky was actually at the prompting of
the
Ray
cop.
Gricar.
Of Gricar, yeah.
Yeah, so let's see what you can get. Quote unquote, it was a bit of a sting.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. And this was one of the things that a lot of people say about him when you start talking about Ray as a professional, is that he was always the kind of guy to say, okay, try this.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah, you know, he would take it that next step is the thing that people say about him. And so I think, you know, the mom said, well, my son is being abused. And he said, okay, but we need something more concrete than your 11-year-old child saying that. So
sadly.
Yeah, unfortunately. So